So hi everybody and welcome back. This time I decided to make a video about a company, that you don't see so often over my channel. I assembled several of them, but never made a proper kit review about one of their models. This is the Studio 27. It's a very quite famous company, in the modeling world because they were producing a lot of interesting stuff. They produce cars, they are making Formula One cars, GT cars, and DTM cars as modification or as complete resin kit. It is a Japanese company that they had the lucky to meet in person. I think about now 20 years ago, when I think it was the owner come with Mr. Hiro in my shop at the time in Milano, Viale Ombre 41. It was the leader shop of static modeling in Milano City, Milano downtown, and I owned that shop for about 10 years, uh, basically from 1998 to 2012, I guess. Long time is gone, and I was the first Italian distributor for importer, basically, more than a distributor, because there was no shops at the time that wanted to believe in this company, wanted to invest some effort in the market for them, And I was so impressed by the passions that this guy, I remember a Japanese guy with quite long hairs. I don't remember really the name of the guy, and I really loved the fact this company dedicated the entire name and their production to as a Gilles corporation, Gilles spirit, Gilles. This is dedicated for Gilles Villeneuve. So Gilles, the number 27, so typical from Gilles Villeneuve. And what I liked so much in this company was that they at first loved it so much Gilles Villeneuve. This little background to explain a kit that is one of those famous and infamous racing kit. This is a model referred to the Lotus 88B. It was the banned car, the Courage. It was available both in Courage and in Essex livery from the 80s, driven by Nigel Mansell and I say our because he was Italian, Elio De Angelis. And let's see what's inside of this very interesting model. There is all the story. I don't want to bore you with the story of the Lotus 88, but it is fascinating. It's coming from the past. You can see really what happened back in time with this mysterious Lotus. It was I think it was the very famous one, coming with the picture of I talking of mostly Elio De Angelis. I don't remember about Nigel having the Simpson helmet. If you search for Elio De Angelis picture, there is several picture of this pilot from Roma. He was an incredibly skilled one, really at the level of Villeneuve and Mansell and Senna, that type of drivers, and a real gentleman. Everybody still loves him. It was really a great loss for all the Italian tifosi to lose him. To lost him in a tragedy happened that I think it was in the Paul Ricard with the flat Brabham made by Gordon Murray. I think it was the BT55, and he had a flip because he died because in a straight in the Paul Ricard he lost the rear wing on the car and the car flipped over, and he ended upside down with the car taking fire and the pilot inside that could not get outside of the vehicle. It was a very ugly tragedy. There is millions of writings around this stuff, so it's extremely sad. But if you look at the picture of 1981, it's very nice because you can see Elio De Angelis driving with this Simpson helmet. Is very special. Google for it also every time that I say this stuff. You will see the shape of the Simpson helmet. It was quite different from the ordinary Formula One helmet. The Formula One helmet, it was something very special because it used to make the pilot completely look like an alien. So you didn't have any longer a human face and so on. And they became these mysterious fellows, with this colored helmet and this mysterious stuff that was indeed the Simpson. The Simpson company making helmet like GPA, like Shoei, like Arai, ordinary racing helmets, and the shape of the Simpson was really looking like a ghost, was really looking like a devil, you know, something really, really impressive. And I remember that they had a poster of the Angelis taken from the lower point of view of the photographer, and you see just this guy with the hands over the elbow, with the hands over the waist, you know, and looking at the car, and the car was exactly this Lotus 88, you know. The model I have here is a commission that I have to build up for a friend, and he provided me spare decals, you know, because in those models from Studio 27 you never know the condition of the decal. This is, I think, a quite old model, absolutely out of production stuff, so if you find one around of the Courage version, grab it at once if you like this kind of model. Or much more easy, but is a completely different item, you know. There is the more recent model made in plastic by Ebro, completely plastic model, surely the cheapest way to have this model in the collection, and absolutely decent model also. But this stuff is resin, you know, so the material is slightly different, is a little more complicated, a little more old-fashioned, you know, and absolutely much more pricey than what you can get now with the Ebro model, you know. The fascination of these models come mostly from the extra detail that they had, you know. So basically inside the box they provided this wonderful red boxes, you know, always looking the same, very Japanese style, with the name and the datas of the model. And there is also, I think, the price, I think in yen, that 18,800 should be the price in yen at the time they produced the model, you know, and that is the code of the box if you want to search for it. And they provide this very nice and beautiful photo etch set, you know. You have to work a little on them, but they are absolutely very easy to work with. It's very easy to folder them and to place it in position and so on, despite sometimes this company was famous not to be so precise in the detail that you have to add to the basic model, you know. So you have every time to take measure, to take the proper dimensions, you know. They also provide probably some details for the wheels, for the main wheels, that is constantly a lacking point in this model, for the reason we will see a little further, you know. And everything is sealed and packaged in a proper, very Japanese style, and clean, and very nice and beautiful presentation of all the stuff that they provide inside the box. This is that was probably an extra decal sheet that I had, you know, because this Courage car have a completely chrome silver plate on the side of the body of the model, you know, and a very clean, even if not so, it's not really a model for beginners, this one, you know, because from a lot of point of view they give as obvious that you know some stuff about this. This is said, you know, there is not so much stuff written, at least in English. I don't dare to ask for stuff written in Italian, of course, but at least a description and something that can explain better during the assembly if you have some surprises or not. This happened to me, not because it is impossible to build them, but when I built up a previous model from them, that it was the McLaren from Ayrton Senna, I think it was the MP4/5B, one of the first one that I made from, not one of the first, one of the latest one that I made from Studio 27. Even if the model was very old, it is basically also there the same identical model that is produced by Tamiya. So it is the same car that you can have in Tamiya, also there with a very cheaper price and much better detail, because they feature also the complete engine that in the Studio 27 you don't find them so often, you know. There is some Ferrari, you know, that they made some Formula 1 car like the 156/85 from Alboreto that have the complete engine inside, and also there the fitting is a little The legends say that the model that were full detail in the beginning of the Studio 27 were made by Mr. Hero, because in the beginning some of this model from Studio 27 had the description mastered by Model Factory Hero on the top of the box. I had an older box that now I sold about the Ferrari 126 G2 that was featuring basically all the detail inside of the motor and all the mechanical part and the rear suspension. It was quite complete, you know. You had some minor part missing in the radiators and so on, so you need extra detail to improve that part. But at the time there was no model at all in 120 scale to do the Gilles Villeneuve car, and they make a super model being Shield Corporation, of course, they made a super model of the Ferrari 126 G2 using probably the same quality mold and the same detail stuff that they had in the Model Factory Hero. You know that indeed Model Factory Hero made, and I have that model in 112, the 126 G2 from Gilles Villeneuve, the dramatic car that he had during the ugly crash in Zolder in what was that, the 8th of October, 8th of May 1982, you know, and then he died at 12 of May 82, you know. So let's, I mean, I was making a model from them, and I remember that there was a description in one of these Japanese notes where they give the suggestion to cut some of the suspension to make it fit properly, otherwise the wheels should have a wrong camber, you know. But I could not translate this stuff, you know. There was absolutely no translation at all, so you had to take a picture of this stuff and try to place it in Google, and it was Google, when I completed the model, that told me that something was wrong, you know. But I already fixed it by my side, because I know that in this model, this is kind of garage kit, you know, stuff that have been made by small companies, so you cannot pretend that they have the detail and the complete stuff that you can find in a modern Tamiya or a modern Revel or also a modern Italeri box, you know. So this is probably stuff that is neither meant to be exported outside of Japan, but there is so much request and so much love for this type of items that they produce, that everywhere in the world you can find something like this. They sell it in Australia, they sell it in America, they sell it in Germany, in Italy, all over in Sweden, they sell it all over, UK, a lot of them. So it is just a problem to find the model when you are searching for them, because when you go searching for this type of model, usually they come out of production. There is problem of royalties, you know. All the models here, they worked in a proper way, approved and licensed by classic team Lotus. It was already the modern company created by Lotus themselves for the classic car, so it is not for the modern Evora and the Lies and whatsoever. It is made for the classic Lotus racing cars and so on. So it probably is a different row of royalty that they had anyway to pay. So this is anyway an official license and production stuff. Japanese are really afraid to work in the proper way without having any problem about this stuff, you know. The model itself, as we say before, comes with a very nice colored, you know, was basically black, the car, so you can clearly see here it was basically completely black with this chrome plated stuff around here. This is the car number 12. I don't know if it is the car that I have to buy, because I want to build, not to buy, I want to build the car driven by this is interesting, you know. This is interesting. This is probably a used model that have been found around, I think, the internet or eBay and so on, and you can see, and there is the guy that did it. I don't know, so visit modelcar.com, I don't know. And you see this is very nice, because it means that the company in a way give attention to what the modelers say, you know. And that's why probably in this model there is a double set of decals, you know. There was a mistake in the decals, he said, so they have a double. They look absolutely similar in my opinion. Probably it's exactly the same stuff, so we will see. And incorrect decal for the left and the right side pods. Okay, we will try to fix this. And so there is not so much a guide about the color, you know. To be completed, I of course have to give a generical indication about the color of the car, but it's very basically, you know. We know that this type of Lotus, they were black, you know. John Player Special Car, Tissot, Essex, they were Courage, they were all black, of course. But you can find your own documentation about the real details of the car just online and googling for it. But just beware, because I was looking for, every time that I have to build up a model like this, I make my own gallery of picture of the details and what is coming with the kit, what is wrong probably in the kit. Because this model, for the history that she had, I don't know if you take a pause in my video and took a story about what happened with the Lotus 88, but it was basically a banned car, because they made a double shell. That was this one that was covering the inner side of another car. So basically there were two bodies, and it was an idea they done in the 80s from Colin Chapman to try to hide what was inside of the model, to create some of Venturi duct under the car, and to increase even more the ground effect of this terrible Formula One. So they had to improve the performance as much as they could. The car was from 81, so they were still running, I think, with Lotus in 81 was still powered by Ford. I don't remember this. I really don't remember. I have to search for it because I don't know so much still about this vehicle. So basically it was banned because it was a double layer, the double shell closing something that was illegal inside, and that's why this was the nickname, like the banned car, something that should never exist. But they did, but they erased it, even if you read about the testimonials about Nigel Mansell driving this car, he said that it was absolutely scary to try to have a drive about this toy because she was absolutely nearly impossible to drive, really hysterical. So probably the Venturi channel under the car and all the Venturi tubes created from the fluid under the car was making the car really extremely hard to be driven and extremely dangerous. We are talking, guys, of 81. So 81 was disaster years. 82 Jill died, there was tragedies. It was still one of the Formula One where people get seriously hurt with these vehicles. There is a missing part that I noted during the searching for this model that is basically in the front suspension. So this area that they created here is lacking of some cable and some springs. There is a spring from the upper side and the lower side of the pillar of the suspension. I don't know the technical name in English, but the brackets of the suspension is missing from some coil springs that were kind of shock absorbers in the last part of the before the wheel. I mean, I don't know the technical name of this part in a Formula One car. Coming over, the other small detail parts that you can find are quite basic. You never find proper and very great details in this model. Is something that you have to add by your own, and you have every time to check the documentation, the proper documentation. Just remember that there is I think one, if not two, cars around going for historical events that are refurbished car, and they are different even in that part. So if you search for the front suspension of the real Lotus 88, you will see that there is a shock absorber with the spring around. Instead, in the modern car, there is just probably a shock absorber. That's why probably in the modern vehicle they just found that there is a better part. There is a lot of people that worked on the real car, and they can of course use different part from the original ones. There is not so many details in this model, so it's basically a very big and huge body shell around. Let's go to the part of the model here. So you have this very huge brick of resin. So basically it's all here, the model it's all here, this huge part of resin, and they used to cast the resin as they did back in time in the early 80s, using very thick part of resin. So this one you have to make something a little more smoother, and all the edges should be a little reworked, because they are a little too sharp, and the details is a little you clearly see that is an item coming from, I don't dare to say the 80s, but at least 20 years ago. Surely, for the type of production modern kit, including the one that we produce here in Italy with my firm GD40 Model Works, are probably much more fine detailed than this stuff. So you have to work a little bit more. Look how huge it became, the thickness of the body. This is a Formula One car made in fiberglass, so it was absolutely different from this brick that you can see here. And the other smallest detail, if you make the counting about this 18,800 yen, Japanese yen, you can check in dollar how much it was, but I was nearly sure that it was around 100 euros at least at the time. So you don't get so much details for that type of price, even more if you compare the price of this box to the time when she was still around in the shops and around in the on the internet also at the time. More here you have some metal part that need to be reworked. As usually here the seat belts is missing, but probably they provide, I hope they provide the bucklers for, let me check if here there is in the first photo etched set that we've seen. Yep, well, they give the complete photo etched seat belts and bucklers, so I don't think I will use them. Of course, I will remake it in tissue by my own, as usual. And the wheels, that is a kind of critical point of this model, you know. This is a part that if you go to assembly a kit like this, you have to pay a lot of attention in these details, because they look like Tamiya wheels and they are not at all, so they're a little bit different to work with. You have a huge connection point for the molding, because this is basically is a kind of soft resin casted like a tire, like casted like a rubber, you know, but it is absolutely not at all the same quality that you can find in Tamiya or in the modern Ebro kit, so you have to work a little bit more on this one. Usually on the edge, I noted that they have quite sharpened edge every time, so you have it every time to check the real picture of the real car and make them much more smoother in the side of that, and then decide if you can go for the decal sheet here, or if, as I did for the Jordan 191 from the Cesaris, if you can go and paint for it. I think I still have the dime to paint it, and the painting became much more, in my opinion, much more realistic, you know, than a decal. We will see during the build, you know. So the metal part about the main wings, they have to be straightened up and polished and cleaned, basically, you know. This is very, very raw material, and this is a very nice detail that they constantly add in this model, you know. The hubs, the hubs of the main wheels are made in aluminium worked, you know. It's I don't know how do you say that in English, maybe forged aluminium, I don't know, but you know, it's worked by the machinery, so it's extremely nice and detailed, you know. So you just have to paint in the proper way the inner side of the wheels that is there. Also, this is casted in white metal, you know, because it's quite a cheap way to produce details, you know. It's something that I've been used also this in about 20 years ago when they make details. Today this stuff could be absolutely betterly done, I think, in resin, absolutely, with no reason of being in metal, but you know, probably they decide to do and to go this way. That's it. Then you have a clean part, a clear part for the front canopy here, that we will see if it is painted in blue, in light blue, and so on, but it is a nice detail that you can add at the end, making the measure. This is a vacuum form part and you only have one, so when you cut these parts you have to be extremely sure and extremely precise, starting from far away from the line and getting nearer and nearer to the edge of the line to try to make it in the best way, because if you mess up with this, then it will be a hell to make it again, you know, and I don't think there is spares available about this model. So that's it. I think this will be a great build, you know. As usual in Formula 1 car, you have to work a lot on the camber and on the setup of the model, because it have to be really, really touching the ground. And this was even more a ground effect car, so you have to work in the way that the ground effect is completely respected with the 8 of the car. You can never build up a Formula 1 car that look like a dune buggy, so this will be completely off and completely wrong. And I think it will be a joy to build it up, and stay tuned in the channel and see you for the next video. I will probably make one when the model is complete, and probably also a music video. I'm improving a little the channel right now because I see that there is a growing up of subscribers and viewers, so I want to make it even nicer than it was before. Thanks for watching, and thanks for watching, guys, and see you in the next. Cheers.